Few maritime disasters of the 20th century were as shocking as the collision between the Italian luxury liner Andrea Doria and the Swedish passenger ship Stockholm in July 1956. Two modern ships, both equipped with radar and experienced officers, met in darkness and fog near Nantucket, and in seconds, a routine voyage turned into one of the most dramatic rescues in maritime history. This disaster raised serious questions about navigational practices, radar interpretation, communication between vessels, and the culture of maintaining speed in dangerous conditions. On July 17, 1956, the Italian liner Andrea Doria departed Genoa on a transatlantic route to New York. On board were 1,706 people, 1,134 passengers, and 572 crew members. The ship followed the classic westbound route across the North Atlantic, Genoa to Cannes to Gibraltar to the Azores to Nantucket Lightship to New York. By the evening of 25th July, the liner had almost completed its voyage. The ship sailed into dense fog about 45 miles from Nantucket. Despite visibility dropping to less than 2 nautical miles, Captain Piero Calamai maintained a speed of 21.8 knots, higher than recommended in fog. The pressure to keep the schedule and arrive on time played a significant role. The ship was already slightly behind, and dock workers in New York were paid hourly, meaning delays were expensive. Radar showed traffic ahead, but the interpretation of the approaching ship proved to be tragically incorrect. At the same time, the Swedish liner Stockholm departed New York at 11:31 a.m., heading east toward Gothenburg. The vessel carried 742 people, 534 passengers, and 208 crew members. Though modern and well-maintained, Stockholm was significantly smaller than Andrea Doria and was known for its reinforced ice-breaking bow designed for northern waters. The ship sailed in clear weather under bright moonlight. Radar showed an approaching target, but no navigation lights were visible. What the crew could not see was the thick fog bank ahead, the same fog in which Andrea Doria was sailing blind. Only one officer was on watch at the time, Third Officer Johan Ernst Karstens Johansson, a common practice on Swedish liners, but later criticized during the investigation. At around 10 past 10 at night, the ships detected each other visually, almost simultaneously. Each bridge interpreted the radar plot differently. Stockholm saw Andrea Doria's red port light, assuming a safe port-to-port passing. Andrea Doria believed the ships would pass starboard to starboard, as suggested by its radar data. Both ships altered course, but in opposite and fatal directions. Within minutes, the fog revealed the horrifying truth. The vessels were on a direct collision course. On Stockholm, the order hard starboard was given, with full reverse on the engines. On Andrea Doria, the helm was turned fully to port while maintaining speed, a decision based on the belief that the ship would turn more effectively under power. But the distance between the ships was already too small. Stockholm's decision. Seeing the Andrea Doria's red port light, Karstens Johansson turned further to starboard, intending to pass port to port according to standard rules. Andrea Doria's decision. The Italian crew believed the Stockholm was positioned to pass starboard to starboard, as they had expected from radar observations. They turned slightly to port to increase the passing distance. When the Andrea Doria emerged from the fog and the ships became visible to each other, both crews realized with horror that they were on a collision course. The distance between them was too short. At 11:10 p.m., the Stockholm's reinforced ice-breaking bow smashed into the Andrea Doria's starboard side, penetrating 7 decks deep. The collision was devastating. The Stockholm's bow created a 12-meter gash in the Andrea Doria's hull. The Italian liner immediately listed 20 degrees to starboard, then continued at 22 knots briefly before the engines could be stopped. The Stockholm's engines, running in reverse, tore their bow free from the Andrea Doria's side with a grinding screech, allowing seawater to pour through the massive wound. Immediate casualties from the collision. Andrea Doria, 43 killed instantly. Stockholm, 5 crew members killed. The Stockholm's bow was completely crushed, but her watertight compartments held. She could still make New York under her own power. At 3:20 a.m. on July 26th, the Stockholm transmitted an SOS reporting the collision, but stating she could reach New York under her own power. 21 minutes later, the Andrea Doria sent her own SOS. The ship had a 20-degree list that was steadily increasing, and the portside lifeboats were impossible to launch. The evacuation was chaotic, but relatively orderly. Passengers threw children into lifeboats spread with blankets. Many jumped into the water or descended by rope. Remarkably, there was no panic, though everyone understood that without the port lifeboats, half the passengers faced potential death. Help came swiftly, largely because the disaster occurred on one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes in the world. Several ships responded to the distress calls. MS Stockholm rescued 545 people. SS Ile de France rescued 753 people. Cape Ann rescued 129 people. Private William H. Thomas rescued 159 people. USS Edward H. Allen rescued 77 people. Robert E. Hopkins rescued 1 person. The Île de France proved instrumental. The French liner immediately altered course and launched all her lifeboats. A second fortunate circumstance aided the rescue. The night was completely calm, with no wind or waves to complicate the transfer of passengers. Many crew members of the Andrea Doria demonstrated poor moral character during the evacuation. Numerous crew got into lifeboats and rowed away without taking passengers aboard. Ultimately, the Andrea Doria's own lifeboats saved only about 40% of the passengers, but 60% of the crew, a damning statistic. By 4 a.m., the Andrea Doria's first officer reported that no passengers remained aboard. Captain Calamai then ordered the crew to abandon ship. By dawn on July 26th, everyone had been rescued except those killed in the initial collision. Captain Calamai left his ship last. 11 hours after the collision, at 10:09 a.m., the Andrea Doria rolled onto her starboard side and slipped beneath the waves, sinking 2.3 miles southwest of the collision site in approximately 240 feet of water. Before departing, the Île de France slowly circled the dying liner in a wide arc. The French ship dipped her flag 3 times, and Captain de Beaudéant sounded 3 long blasts on the horn, a final salute to the Andrea Doria. The official inquiries in both Italy and the United States highlighted several contributing factors. Misinterpretation of radar. Both crews read the radar plot differently. Andrea Doria's radar was considered reliable, but the crew misinterpreted relative motion, assuming a starboard passing that did not exist. Excessive speed and fog. The Italian liner maintained almost full speed despite near zero visibility, a serious violation of safe navigation rules. Incorrect avoidance maneuvers. Both ships altered course toward each other, each believing the other would turn the opposite way. Single officer on duty on Stockholm. Having only one officer on the bridge during departure into busy waters was criticized as unsafe. Structural weaknesses of Andrea Doria. The collision revealed significant vulnerabilities: rapid flooding, poor watertight integrity between compartments, and instability caused by fuel tank configuration. No single party was declared solely responsible. Instead, both captains and both shipping lines quietly agreed to share liability to avoid lengthy litigation. The disaster is now used as a case study in maritime academies on radar use, communication protocols, and safe speed regulations. After undergoing repairs and restoration, the liner Stockholm returned to service. Over the following decades, it changed numerous owners and operated under many different names, including Volkafreund, Astoria, Arian, Athena, Azores, and Genting Dream. The ship had an extraordinary career and was long regarded as the oldest operational cruise liner in the world. Ultimately, after more than 70 years of service, the vessel was sent for scrapping in 2024. Thus, Stockholm entered maritime history as a ship that not only survived a catastrophic collision, but also remained in operation for an exceptionally long time, becoming a unique example of longevity in passenger shipping.